I have been a trophy hunter on and off since 2020, and in all that time, I've only managed to get 31 platinums. Some of them I enjoyed a lot, others I hated doing, and I have some platinums that I'm really proud of, some that I'm not proud of at all. I recently got the urge to start trophy hunting again, and before earning any new platinums, I wanted to make a tier list of all the platinums I have earned from 2020 to 2024. I divided the tier list in 6 categories. I'm proud. This one is for games that I won't do again because of how difficult it was to get the platinum, but that I'm still proud of. Goated. This is for games that I would not mind doing the platinum all over again. Sometimes I've done it again, in games that are either really good or that had really fun trophy lists. Good. The games were pretty good, but not quite goated. Okay. This is pretty self-explanatory. If it was not bad, but it wasn't good either. The platinum is not too hard to get, and I overall enjoyed the game, but it wasn't life-changing. Terrible. Now this one is for the worst games I've played. No matter how easy the platinum, I would not do it again. And Shovelware. I'm super ashamed of any Shovelware I have, but there is enough to get its own category. The first platinum I ever earned was Life is Strange Before the Storm, which I'm putting on the good category. I really like the Life is Strange franchise. The platinum for it is fairly simple, and the story for this one is pretty decent. Before the Storm is a prequel to Life is Strange, and it really does do it justice. Even though it's a choice-based game, I don't think you really have to replay the story too much. All the trophies are tied to collectibles, which are like graffiti that you find throughout the chapter, and they can be found regardless of what choices you make. Marvel Spider-Man. Goated. I'm a huge fan of Spider-Man, not the biggest fan of Marvel, but Spider-Man is an exception for me. I love the movies and the concept of the hero itself. The game is absolutely incredible. The story was nice, but what really made this game a masterpiece for me was the gameplay. I love the combat and the open world experience, but my favorite part by far was the swinging. Also, the platinum itself is pretty fun and simple to get. Just 100% all the districts and completing the story, as well as some miscellaneous stuff, I think. Very fun game, definitely goated. Spyro, okay. I bought the trilogy thinking that I was gonna do all 3 games, but I only ended up doing the first one. I was not a huge Spyro fan growing up, and I'm not old enough to have been able to play and enjoy the original Spyro games, so there was no sense of nostalgia for me when I was playing this. But I did think that the game itself was decently good, and the platinum was fun to earn. My name is Mayo. This goes into Shovelware, obviously. I don't even want to talk about this. You just have to tap a can of mayo like 30,000 times or something. 36 Fragments of Midnight. I'm also putting in Shovelware. This game is actually, I wouldn't say 100% Shovelware because it does require a bit of skill, but that bit of skill is very little skill. It's like a Geometry Dash type of situation, but way easier and short. The platinum only takes like 30 minutes, I think. The Walking Dead final season. It's okay. I will admit that I didn't play the previous seasons, which I think are way better, or have heard that they are way better. I only played the final season because it's the only one that I had and I wanted to play it. The story was okay. There's nothing to say about it. It wasn't too life-changing. You have to like replay a few things to get the platinum, but nothing too crazy. The Last of Us Remastered. Goated. I've platinumed this game twice, once in each of my accounts. It is a pretty hard platinum considering you have to finish the game in the hardest difficulty, which is pretty hard, and it has multiplayer trophies that require you to play a decent amount of the multiplayer. It's a bit grindy and pretty hard, and I would say I'm proud of this platinum, but I think it deserves to be in the goated category, since, you know, I've done it twice. The Last of Us Part 2. Also goated. Contrary to popular opinion, I love The Last of Us Part 2. I would go as far as to say that it is even better than the first part. The gameplay significantly improved, and the story made me feel things I have never felt for a game or a piece of fiction before. It does a good job of making you feel like Ellie when you're playing her. No spoilers. Same as the first Last of Us, the platinum consists of collectibles, finishing the story, and some miscellaneous stuff. You don't have to play it on the hardest difficulty, but I'm planning on getting the platinum for this one on my second account as well, and with that getting the 100%, which does require you to play it in grounded mode as well as permadeath. But to get only the platinum, this is way easier than The Last of Us Remastered. Jigsaw Abundance. This is also Shovelware. It's just a puzzle game, literally nothing to say about this. Suicide Guy. Terrible game. This game literally sucks. You just have to kill yourself a bunch of times. I'd put it in Shovelware, but it is so bad it deserves to be terrible. Some of the trophies are bugged, so sometimes I had to repeat things I'd already done. Don't get this game. Ghost of Tsushima. Goated. This game is an absolute masterpiece. I love the story and the gameplay mechanics of it all, as well as the open world. The platinum got a bit repetitive towards the end, but it was still fun to complete. Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Goated. I love the Uncharted franchise. I don't know if this is popular or unpopular opinion, but I think this Uncharted is the best one of them all in every single way. I love the small open world segment where you drive around. The only tedious part is getting all of the collectibles, but that is to be expected with a Naughty Dog game. It is fairly simple platinum. I think you have to play it in the hardest difficulty, but there are sheets you can buy that make the game so much easier. Out of all of the Uncharteds, I think this one is the easiest one to platinum, and the 100% comes right away because there are no DLC. Horizon Zero Dawn. Okay. I'm a big fan of open world, but I didn't really like Horizon Zero Dawn. I thought the story was mid at best, and the gameplay was also not great. The platinum was simple enough, and some things were fun, but I wasn't having the most fun ever. It wasn't a bad game, just mediocre. Overwatch. I'm proud. Now, this game fucking sucks, but I will say that about almost every multiplayer game ever. And while also saying this game sucks, I have over 2,000 hours on it. The platinum just came naturally from playing so much, but it is incredibly hard, especially now that Overwatch 2 changed some of the trophies. There are 3 specific trophies I can think of that make this extremely challenging, and it's pretty much luck-based since it heavily depends on who you're playing against and in what map. There is some skill to it, but I would say that anyone could get the platinum if you put a shit ton of hours in the game. This is probably the platinum I'm the most proud of that I have. Detroit Become Human. I'm gonna put this in the good category. The game itself is goated. The only issue I had with the platinum was that you had to replay the game like 3 times, I think, which got pretty boring. But seeing all of the outcomes of the choices you made was really fun. I love the story of this game, but nothing compares to the first time you play it. If I only had to play it once, I would say this was goated, but because of the replays necessary to the platinum is good. It's fun and simple. Astro's Playroom. Good. I'm not a huge fan of platformer games, but I had to play this game since it came with my PS5. It was actually the first game I ever played on my PS5, as most people. It was a good game, nothing insane. It's a good platinum. Spider-Man Miles Morales. Goated. Now, like I said before, I love Spider-Man games. I've actually done this one twice. I think it's even better and easier to do than the first game. The only issue is that you have to do a New Game Plus to get the platinum, which fucking sucks. But either way, to get the 100% on the first game, you also have to do New Game Plus, so pretty much the same thing. I don't think you have to play it on the hardest difficulty, and it's literally the exact same thing. Finish all of the districts, it's just that the story is shorter this time, and I thought the story was actually better. Genshin Impact. Now this goes in I'm proud. Another one that takes a lot of time to complete. Around 500 hours if I'm not wrong. However, I've played a lot more than that. I no longer play this game, but to get the platinum, you basically have to 100% all of the original regions. The new regions are being added as DLC. I think there are 2 or 3 regions to complete, and since I enjoy the game, the platinum also came naturally to me. Adam's Venture. Terrible game. This game is absolute trash. Imagine Uncharted with lower graphics, a bunch of bugs, terrible voice acting, and a worse storyline. I genuinely have so much hate in my heart for this game. Again, I got it because the platinum was easy. A mistake I'll never make again. Demon Slayer. This was also an okay game. It's more of like a fighting game. I got it for the multiplayer co-op aspect of it, but then decided to platinuming it because the platinum was not even that hard. You do have to play throughout the entire story and get S ranks in all the fights. It's actually the only fighting game I have 100%ed, and I actually really did enjoy it a lot, but it was just an okay game. It wasn't that great. Bugsnax. Also okay. This game was really weird, and I think it was targeted towards children, but like it also low-key wasn't. Like the story was a little dark from what I remember. I'm maybe making this up, but you just have to like capture all of the different types of bugs. The bugs are foods, and then you give it to the villagers, and the villagers become like whatever they eat. Okay, I'm making no sense, but like it's if you've played Bugsnax, you know what I mean. It was a fun game, but it wasn't anything insane. Like I said, it felt like a children's game, but it was kind of dark from what I remember. Toem, also okay. Toem was really cute. It's like you go around taking pictures, and I like the ambience and stuff, but it wasn't anything crazy. The gameplay itself was just taking the pictures, and it's like a 4-hour long game. Pretty short platinum. Life is Strange True Colors. Okay, compared to the other Life is Strange games, I'd say this is my least favorite one. The story is like hella woke. I don't even remember what it was, but I think the main character like is an empath. That's like her power, which is so lame compared to like the actual Life is Strange. But yeah, it was still good. It's still a Life is Strange game, and I like the series. The songs were good as always, and you know the ambience was good, which was what makes Life is Strange Life is Strange. The Last of Us Part 1. Goated. Like I said before, I love The Last of Us. The remake is just the same story with a way easier platinum. There is no need to play in the hardest difficulty or any multiplayer trophies. I finished platinum in 2 days with only 8 hours of playtime. Super easy if you have played The Last of Us before, but still easy if you haven't. And again, the game itself has one of the best stories ever told in gaming. So if you don't want a hard platinum and you still want a really good game, play this remake. What Remains of Edith Finch. This one goes in good. I would say this game was really good. I enjoyed the story. There is not much gameplay to it, but it was still fun and interesting. It is a really short game though, so I cannot put it in goated. Also a really short platinum. Even though it's just good, it was still really good. Like I would almost put it in goated just because the story is so good. Life is Strange. Goated game. I love games where you make your own choices and they affect what happens in the story, even though Life is Strange doesn't really have a huge difference in the endings compared to something like Detroit Become Human. There are only 2 endings in the game. My only issue with those games is that to get the platinum, you usually have to do a bunch of extra playthroughs to get other endings. And Life is Strange is not like that at all. All of the trophies are tied to collectibles that I'm pretty sure you can get regardless of what choices you make. The story itself is really good, and the soundtrack paired with how the game looks and feels make this one of my favorite games out there. The Gardens Between. I don't know where to put this. It could be shovelware, it could be okay, maybe even terrible. I didn't have a lot of fun playing this game. I think I'm gonna put it in shovelware just because it was only 2 hours and I watched a guide to complete the playthrough. It was a little confusing, low-key, but you know, I didn't really enjoy this game too much. I can't remember what happened, so I'm gonna put it in shovelware because of that. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. It's an okay game. This was actually my first Ratchet & Clank game, and I don't think I'm a really big fan of the series. The gameplay was in some ways fun, and the story was alright, but nothing insane. The platinum was fun to get, but again, nothing crazy. A Plague Tale Innocent. Goated. I want to say this is an unpopular opinion, but I personally love this series. The story is amazing. The gameplay for the first game is not the best ever, but to me, the story and the soundtrack make up for it. The platinum is fairly simple. You just have to get collectibles, complete the game, and some miscellaneous miscellaneous stuff. Again, the story, dude, is just so good. It's like, it takes place in the 1800s, and it's about like, well, the plague, and this little guy named Hugo who is sick with the plague apparently, but I don't want to do any spoilers. It is such a good game. A Plague Tale Requiem also goated. Requiem is the sequel to Innocence. It's just as good, if not a little better. The story goes a little off the rails here, I'm not gonna lie. Some of the most random stuff happens, but I still thought it was good. The gameplay gets a lot better, and so again, that balances for the story being a little weird. I still love this game though. The platinum for this one is super similar to Innocence, but I think you have to fully upgrade your character, which requires you to start a New Game Plus, but you don't have to finish the game to get the upgrades. These two games, both super easy platinums. I don't think you have to play in any difficulty at all, and the story is actually just insane. I was crying so hard by the end of A Plague Tale Requiem. I've never cried so much over a series, not even The Last of Us. The last platinum I've gotten, Resident Evil 3. I'm proud of this one. This was my latest platinum, which was literally 2 years ago. It's been way longer than I thought. I've never been the best gamer, and Resident Evil 3 was definitely a huge challenge for me, even though it's not even supposed to be compared to the other Resident Evils, but I made it through to the end. I love the game and do really love the series, so I'm looking forward to getting a few more platinums of different Resident Evil games. The story is pretty good, and so is the gameplay. I would put this at goated, but I'm really proud of it, even though I really shouldn't be, because again, this is one of the easiest Resident Evils of them all out there. That concludes all my platinums. I'm getting back into trophy hunting after a really long break, and I'm really excited to get a few really hard platinums this year.